Good afternoon and welcome to the press conference following the EU-India leaders meeting. We will first listen to the President in English, French and Portuguese. Please, Mr. President, you have the floor.
Merci beaucoup. Mes premiers mots sont naturellement pour Antonio Costa, le Premier ministre du Portugal, pour adresser au nom de tous les collègues nos remerciements pour l'organisation à la fois exceptionnelle qui vient de se terminer à l'instant, cette rencontre avec le Premier ministre Modi of India, as they battle the current COVID surge. The European Union stands in full solidarity with India at this critical time. We already activated help mechanisms and we are ready to provide further support. COVID is the greatest challenge of global solidarity in generations. The only way out is to immunize the global population. We discussed EU-India cooperation on this matter. I am also happy to announce the EU and India are opening a new important chapter in our relationship. We are the world's two largest democracies. We are natural partners in many areas. A robust partnership based on shared values and convergent interests will benefit our citizens, the Indo-Pacific region and the wider world. We have today agreed on concrete steps to expand this strategic partnership. Today we agreed to launch negotiations on mutually reinforcing agreements on trade, on investment protection and on geographical indications. This is an important first step. We are also launching our new connectivity partnership, and this is a major project that will promote high standard infrastructure for sustainable and resilient economic growth and foster exchanges between our people. We have resumed our human rights dialogue after 8 years, and this is very good news, because human rights, gender equality and equal opportunities are at the heart of our engagement with India. And pure security cooperation is growing in many areas, from securing maritime routes to combating terrorism and fighting cybercrime. Today, dans le cadre de cette réunion informelle du Conseil européen. Premier point, de manière générale, nous constatons des progrès significatifs sur le plan européen en termes de production et de distribution de doses de vaccins. C'est un point qui a été salué de manière générale par l'ensemble des délégations, mentionnant le rôle important joué à cet égard par la Commission européenne. Deux, nous mesurons bien que nous devons rester vigilants, attentifs s'agissant de la question des mutants et des variants. Un monitoring permanent est nécessaire, nous le menons, et la nécessité de continuer à soutenir activement la science et la recherche est nécessaire également sur ce sujet-là. 3. Nous avons eu un débat et un échange en lien avec l'avancement de notre ambition de développer une même approche en termes de Digital Green Certificates, de certificats Covid. Les trilogues ont démarré dans le cadre de la responsabilité de la présidence portugaise et nous avons considéré qu'il était important, lors du prochain Conseil européen qui devrait avoir lieu à Bruxelles le 25 mai, de revenir sur ce sujet pour s'assurer que des progrès auront été réalisés et que l'on pourra tenter de résoudre les quelques difficultés auxquelles nous sommes encore confrontés afin de pouvoir progressivement retrouver une capacité de circuler en Europe grâce à cet instrument commun que nous souhaitons mettre en place. Et puis, le quatrième point qui a animé nos débats, c'est bien sûr l'engagement de l'Union européenne pour la solidarité internationale. Nous le savons, vous le savez, personne ne sera en sécurité face à cette pandémie de Covid-19 si le monde entier n'est pas protégé, si le monde entier n'est pas en sécurité. Et c'est pour laquelle, depuis le premier jour de cette mobilisation à l'échelle européenne, il y a plus d'1 an, contre le Covid-19, nous avons affirmé cette solidarité. D'abord, en mobilisant beaucoup de moyens pour la recherche et contribuer à faire en sorte que rapidement des vaccins puissent être disponibles pour l'humanité. Ensuite, en participant activement à cette initiative COVAX pour veiller à ce que dans tous les pays du monde, des doses puissent être accessibles. L'Union européenne est un contributeur majeur de ce projet COVAX. 3, en veillant et c'est un point essentiel, à ce qu'au départ de l'Union européenne, des exportations de vaccins soient possibles. Et c'est autour de 50% des doses qui sont produites sur le sol européen qui sont exportées, ce qui témoigne de notre solidarité, de notre engagement à maintenir les chaînes d'approvisionnement ouvertes. Et on encourage tous nos partenaires, y compris les pays producteurs de vaccins, à suivre cet exemple en protégeant et en maintenant les chaînes d'approvisionnement et en veillant en sorte que les exportations soient possibles. Bien sûr, nous avons eu le débat aussi sur la question de la propriété intellectuelle qui résoudrait tout. Cependant, il va de soi que nous sommes prêts à rester engagés sur des débats extrêmement concrets. C'est par exemple ce que nous faisons en Europe depuis quelque temps déjà avec des pays africains pour tenter de stimuler des partenariats privés, publics, high-level summit of many heads of states and heads of government, which is a very clear signal, a very clear symbol of this European ambition at the social level. And we remember 4 years ago in Gothenburg, a first important step under the leadership of Stefan Löfven. 4 years later, with this very strong commitment of Antonio Costa and the President of the Commission, we take and we are taking one more step, one important step in direction of a more social Europe. La réunion de hier a été une réunion enthousiasmante parce que nous mesurons qu'au-delà des différences entre les différents pays européens, entre les différents acteurs de la société économique, sociale, la société civile, les acteurs politiques, il y a de souligner parce qu'il mérite de l'être, me semble-t-il, pour la première fois avec une grande clarté. Il y a l'expression au travers des conclusions qui ont été validées à l'unanimité ce matin par les chefs d'État et de gouvernement, qui considèrent qu'il y a là un levier pour la modernisation, mais aussi pour le renforcement de la prospérité et une Europe plus sociale qui veille à ce qu'il y ait de la fraternité, de la solidarité et un accès égal aux chances et aux opportunités pour l'ensemble des citoyens européens. Voilà le chemin qui a été dessiné aujourd'hui à Porto. Et merci encore, Antonio, pour ta mobilisation et pour ton engagement.
Thank you, Mr. President. Madam President,
Thank you so much. First of all, I also want to thank you, Antonio, for being such an outstanding host and very intensive, highly interesting 2 days, indeed, starting with the Social Summit. As we had a long press conference yesterday, I want to focus on the 2 other topics today to achieve our objective of enough doses being delivered in July to vaccinate 70% of the European adult population. Of course, delivering vaccine doses in this area, I'm glad to report that the legal and the technical work on the EU travel certificate, the vaccination certificate, is on track for agreement by the end of this month. And this would allow for the system to be rolled out and people to carry with them unfalsifiable proof that they have been vaccinated or they have a future. And therefore I was glad that I could announce that we now concluded the negotiations with BioNTech-Pfizer for a new contract looking forward to the years 22 and 23. The new contract secures 1.8 billion doses of vaccines, mainly because there are 3 more topics that are clear for us we have to cover with potential vaccines. The first topic is sooner or later, children and teenagers will be vaccinated. For that, we have to prepare. Second, there is the question of how long does the immunity last with the first 2 shots of vaccination. So when is it necessary? Therefore, now this big follow-up contract with BioNTech-Pfizer. But, of course, we will also explore other contracts, for example, based on other technologies like the protein-based technologies. The key point is to keep our options open, and we have seen how crucial it is for us to have a broad portfolio of vaccines to be prepared for unexpected issues. Finally, of course, we have discussed the role of the European Union in the global vaccination effort. And when it comes to the proposal of a temporary TRIPS waiver for vaccine intellectual property rights, as I've said before, I think it is very important we should be open to this discussion. We should also, for example, have a close look at the role of licensing. These are important topics to discuss, but we should be aware of the fact that these are topics for the long term. It's not a topic for the short term or the medium term. And we should therefore not lose sight of the main urgencies now, which is ramping up indeed the vaccine production as quickly as possible and ensuring that they are fairly and evenly distributed. 200 million doses have been exported to 90 different countries in the world. So we invite others to do the same. This is the best way right now in the short term to approach the bottlenecks and the lack of vaccines worldwide. The second point, indeed, is that we have to support COVAX. We have massively financed COVAX, as well as sharing our vaccines, both via COVAX and bilaterally with our neighbourhood. Some member states have already shared, like Romania, France and Austria, but also committed to do so, like Spain, like Portugal, like Sweden, and I know that Poland is going to follow. And the third topic is indeed the investment capacity in the southern part of Africa. And we are also supporting the development of the Institut Pasteur in Dakar in Senegal, together with the European Investment Bank, France, Germany and Belgium. So these are just examples how to approach that topic. And last but not least, the European Commission is working on a flagship Team Europe initiative with our African partners to very concretely build up capacity in Africa. This topic was also, and this is the bridge, the topic, of course, that has been discussed with Prime Minister Modi. Indeed, it was for us a very summit. It is a landmark moment, and indeed, we have agreed that we will resume the negotiations on a free trade agreement. If you just keep in mind that free trade agreement negotiations started in 2007, have been stopped in 2013, and nothing happened in between, and now they are being resumed. It shows the importance of this summit. We will also launch negotiations on investment protection and of negotiations on the important topic of geographical indications. There were other discussions on other topics like cooperation on the World Trade Organization reform, regulatory cooperation and resilient value chains. We also discussed the topic of climate change. India is the fourth biggest emitter of greenhouse gases in the world, and it is impressive to see how India is stepping forward now in this topic too. We discussed the importance of committing to climate neutrality and complete phase out from fossil fuels, for example, in view of the crucial UN COP26, so to have a very ambitious goal, because the experience with India in the past showed that once India has set itself a goal, it delivers. India is delivering on the goal it has set itself, so it is important that ambitious goals are being taken for the COP26. And last but not least, our partnership on connectivity. It is the second only of such a connectivity partnership after Japan. It will bring our two regions closer in mobility and transport, but of course also in the digital field. India is a powerhouse of digitization, so this shows the width, and these were only a few examples of the cooperation with India. Thanks again to Antonio Costa for having convened this summit.
Thank you, Madam President. Prime Minister, you have the floor.
Muito obrigado. Eu queria começar por agradecer à Comissão Europeia, na pessoa de Ursula von der Leyen, e ao Conselho, na pessoa do Charles Michel, o verdadeiro trabalho de equipa que desenvolvemos ao longo de mais de um ano para termos chegado a esta cimeira estratégico na defesa do multilateralismo e na junção dos esforços para enfrentarmos juntos grandes questões globais, hoje o Covid-19, seguramente durante muito tempo o combate contra as alterações, em que a Índia vive uma situação tão dramática do ponto de vista do Covid. O Primeiro-Ministro Narendra Modi não tenha adiado, decidimos relançar estas negociações, como abrir negociações para a proteção das indicações geográficas e avançarmos com uma parceria estratégica na área da conectividade, no digital, na energia indiana e, por isso, acho que agora temos todas as condições para acelerar na concretização destes acordos de comércio e de investimento e de proteção que eu gostaria de enfatizar, porque traduzem um compromisso efetivo do Conselho relativamente à importância equitativa, contribuirá para alcançar uma convergência social e económica ascendente e para dar resposta aos desafios demográficos. Em segundo lugar, o Conselho congratulou os sociais, nomeadamente nas áreas do emprego, das competências da saúde e da proteção social. Que o Conselho aceita que o semestre europeu não seja só um semestre de revisão dos critérios macroeconómicos e do pilar europeu dos direitos sociais, de forma a avançar a nível da União Europeia e dos Estados-membros com os trabalhos legislativos e não legislativos que sejam necessários. Isto é uma ação especial a fim de reforçar os direitos dos trabalhadores, os sistemas de segurança social e a saúde e a segurança no trabalho. Quinto elemento, muito importante. O Conselho afirma estar empenhado em reduzir as desigualdades em termo e em assegurar salários justos, bem como em lutar contra a exclusão social e a pobreza, e em particular a pobreza infantil, em combater os riscos de exclusão de grupos sociais particularmente vulneráveis, como são os desempregados de longa duração, os idosos, as pessoas portadoras de deficiências, uma atenção muito especial ao que diz respeito à política para os jovens, que têm uma taxa de desemprego muitíssimo elevada, dificuldades de acesso à habitação acessível para agir, com um conjunto de afirmações muito concretas e cumprem o objetivo que nos tínhamos proposto de recolocar o pilar social no centro das políticas europeias. Creio, por isso, que podemos sair daqui com a convicção reforçada de que quer a Comissão, quer o Conselho, quer o Parlamento Europeu estão todos alinhados no mesmo objetivo, de dar toda a prioridade a uma recuperação que seja baseada na transição digital, na transição climática, mas que seja também uma recuperação justa, que não deixe ninguém para trás, abra oportunidades para todos e, sobretudo, abra oportunidades para termos mais e melhor emprego para o futuro, em particular para as jovens gerações.
Thank you, Mr. Prime Minister. And if I may, we just released on our Council website the joint statement as well, which I wanted to point out on the EU-India meeting, so please check it out. We're going to take a couple of questions here in the room first. Susanna Freshes, you go first. Please, you'll have to stand up and go to the microphone under COVID restrictions.
Can I take my mask off?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Thank you, Susanna Freshes, SIC Expresso. Madam President, I would like to on parle aujourd'hui des inégalités entre femmes et hommes, le pilier social. Il y a pas longtemps, vous avez dit au Parlement européen que vous allez vous engager vous-même pour mobiliser les États membres pour débloquer la directive sur les inégalités hommes-femmes parmi les administrateurs non exécutifs des sociétés cotées en bourse. Vous l'avez fait aujourd'hui, ça c'est la question. Quand comptez-vous débloquer cette directive? Senhor Primeiro-Ministro, gostaria de perguntar-lhe se acha que é possível ainda um entendimento sobre o salário mínimo, ou um salário mínimo justo europeu, durante a presidência portuguesa, no seio do Conselho, claro. Obrigada.
Yes, if I may start with the discussion concerning the IP waivers. So the discussion is there. So if you ask, shouldn't we start it now, it is there. It is an important discussion. The point that I want to emphasize is, yes, we are willing to go into that discussion, but then we need a real 360-degree view on it, and we should not shy away from other topics that are in this big question: where do vaccines come from for the whole world? And indeed, here the discussion is either IP waivers, that's how difficult it is to have a stable delivery of vaccines. We see production sites that do not bring any kind of yield. So even today, there are companies who are not able to really do other regions of the world. This has already started. But the second point is those regional 200 million doses have been distributed to almost 90 countries. This is effective. And the second point is indeed sharing of doses, so not only export but also sharing of doses through COVAX is of utmost importance, and on top then the investment in capacities. By that, what I want to say is let's lead the whole discussion. Let's invite everybody to join in vaccine sharing, everybody to join in export, fair export, everybody to join in the investment of capacities not only in the own region but also abroad, and the discussion on licensing and IP waivers.
Merci beaucoup. Quelques mots sur la question que vous m'adressez. En effet, au Parlement européen, j'ai pris l'engagement de me mobiliser politiquement pour faire avancer un certain nombre de... Aujourd'hui, d'autres thèmes ont été aussi abordés qui touchent à l'égalité entre les femmes et les hommes, comme naturellement la question des salaires à travail égal.
Já muito consolidado. Poucas declarações proclamatórias, muito trabalho com descrição, bons resultados. Concluído a lei do clima. Relativamente à proposta diretiva do salário mínimo, estamos naquela segunda fase, que é o trabalho discreto. Vamos ver se temos bons resultados para partilhar.
The private sector, are you going to push the pharma company to share, colleagues ready to share part of these vaccines with the rest of the world, with the poorest country? Thank you.
So what the pharmaceutical and indeed we have started discussions with some pharmaceutical companies who also have already their ideas how they could extend their capacities in a way that is beneficial for example, our African partners. There is, for example, the model of container-based labs ready to go that is being developed because, of course, there's a lot of detail if you build up a capacity. And the container-based model gives you the opportunity to come with a, let's say, ready-to-go lab in a small scale. 8 billion is a lot. And therefore, there is already built in the contract to come. We do not know what's going to happen, whether we're going to have escape variants or not. But we have already a width of or an amount of doses in the portfolio that is potentially more than we will need, and that we know from the experience now that this is good because you can export, but you can also donate, or for lower price you can resell.
Un mot pour simplement compléter ce que Ursula a indiqué. Je crois sur le premier point que vous soulevez que l'approche qui est mise en œuvre, notamment avec plusieurs pays africains et des partenaires privés, est l'approche la plus efficace pour intégrer de manière globale les différentes dimensions de cette question. Il y a évidemment un accès de propriété intellectuelle, mais il y a d'autres aspects. Les transferts de technologie, la capacité de former. Main Bank has certainly also a role to play, and it means a support by the governments, by the public authorities in Europe, in Africa, but also an important role for the private sector. And I repeat that in my opinion.
Enquanto não houver uma imunização à escala global. Por isso, temos todos, a União Europeia tem sido exemplar na sua contribuição para o COVAX. A Comissão Europeia criou o Team Europe e, no âmbito do Team Europe, os Estados-membros têm vindo a contribuir de uma forma conjunta para haver um apoio aos países mais necessitados, e vários Estados-membros têm, numa relação bilateral, partilhado também as suas próprias vacinas. E, portanto, esse princípio é um princípio que está assente e que todos estamos a seguir.
Thank you. We're now going to our Indian journalist joining us remotely. Can I call on
going to handle this free trade agreement along with the investment protection agreement, because earlier the decision was to integrate both these pacts, but now there is going to be a standalone investment agreement. Also, on the free trade agreement, I would be grateful if you can answer what are some of the issues that are going to come up again, that are going to be the sticky issues, which earlier used to be duties on wine and spirits, automobile tariffs and all those things. Do they still come on the table once again as we resume the talks? Thank you so much for the opportunity.
So, to start with your latest, the last part of your question, this is way too early to be able, and this is for us, I think, a way to approach it so that all different sides have the most benefit from it.
Last question is for Sida.
It's certain that for the European Union, this region is very important. We would like to strengthen the ties with this region. That's why this meeting with the Prime Minister Modi was so important today. And there are different important fields that we would like to tackle. We just mentioned the economic cooperation and trade, investment, for example. But there are other important topics like security, like the regional concerns also. We have also the same multilateral approach, because we think that we need to strengthen the international cooperation. And certainly we face very important global challenges, the digital transition, the climate transition, and it's possible to tackle those challenges only if we decide to work together, and we hope that it will be possible in the future to develop the ties with this important region for us.
This concludes our press conference of today. Thank you to the Portuguese presidency. See you soon in Brussels.
Boa tarde.
Tá bom.